So, good afternoon from India, and if people are joining us or have joined us from different parts of the world, then good evening to them and good morning. Today, I will be speaking with Neha Kashyap, who is the mother hun at The Grey Matter, and we will be speaking about the pitching tips and best practices. In this section, we'll also explore on what has changed over the years about pitching and the tips and tricks, and how can a BD team helps support the firm to grow their business and help in rainmaking. Little bit about Neha. With over a decade of experience in the legal industry, Neha has thrives on strategic business development, communication, and marketing, and also does a lot of training initiatives. And she, from an in-house BD head of a top-tier law firm in India, to starting the Grey Matter in India, she's come a long way. Welcome, Neha, and thank you so much for joining us today and giving your time.
Thank you for the introduction, and thank you for having me. I'm very excited for the session. It's one topic that truly gets me going. So yeah, looking forward to the chat.
So before I start, I would want to brief the listeners and Neha to you also that for the first 20 minutes, we'll be discussing about the pitching and the best practices. And the next 40 minutes will be a round table where our listeners can ask you questions, and then we'll be closing the session. So let me start, Neha, with the first question. And so with your and my total experience in the industry, which is approximately 30 years, which is a long time, and the roles that we have played as BD professional in curating pitches. Can you tell us what is the actual? Can you tell us like points, or can you tell us what is the actual good approach, or the correct approach to approach and to do an RFP or approach an RFP? Starting with, what is an RFP according to you?
So RFP basically stands for request for proposal or requisition for proposal that corporates send out to law firms or individual lawyers to understand and evaluate the expertise the law firms or the individuals bring to the table. This could be for a particular project or for impaneling these firms or individuals with the corporates for any and every query that they have on the legal side. So I think that's the in a nutshell, that's what RFP is. And like you said, we've clearly seen the process evolve, right, over the last 15 years or so. I think some of the most important sort of things that we definitely swear by. One would, of course, be to read the RFP very, very carefully. Adhere to the timelines. If it's a specific question that's been asked, it's very important that as BD professionals, we try and urge the lawyers to make it as crisp and as specific as possible, and very important to adhere to the word limit that's specified on the RFP, because RFPs have now gone from just being a large sort of document where you tick boxes to asking extremely specific questions. And I think that's something that we truly need to keep in mind. I think it's also very, very critical that we stay up to date with the technological innovation that the firm has undertaken. It could be on the due diligence side, it could be on the compliance management side, the contract management side. Extremely critical and important to state those on our RFP, and not only because you want to give the sense of the advancement that the firm has gone through, but also making sure you're telling the client or the prospective client that it is something that you have their best interest in mind as far as time is concerned and as far as cost is concerned. So I think those two are extremely critical. And the third point is, I think, good for the firms that they have people like us who have the ability to understand the legal nuances, but also have the ability to creatively present it, to make it easy for the reader on the other side. Because, I mean, you'll agree with me that long gone, those days are long gone when it was only GCs reading, or the legal counsel on the other side reading the RFP, right? It could be someone from the sales team, it could be someone from the marketing team, the business team, the finance, procurement, it could be any team reading it. And if you were to deliver a verbose, heavy worded document to them, it won't hold any sort of, it won't be able to hold any attention, in their eyes. So I think
absolutely
important. And I think to end that, very critical for firms to ask for feedback. Whatever the matter may be, if your RFP has gone through, not gone through, extremely critical that you get feedback from your clients as to why did it go through and why did it not go through. It only helps us evolve, right? We live and learn. So.
No, absolutely. So Neha, if I summarize your points, it will be technology, a word limit, which is very important. It should be sleek, innovative but specific. I mean, use your sectors and use your practice areas well, but don't go beyond it. I mean, nobody wants to read so much. And the third is, of course, feedback, which we can ask them, why did you take the mandate, or we cannot, and improvise on it. So yeah, that's really a very good summary of 4 points. I think it will be useful for people who are listening to us. That leads me to our next question, Neha. So in the last decade or 15 years, you have seen the change. Along with, I've also seen the change, and you've seen the change. And so what changes have you seen for pitching, and why do you think the change has come? I mean, there are a lot of factors, but from a business development perspective, why do you think the change has come, and what are those changes?
So I think, like we said in the first question, I think the entire, intent with which a law firm does the RFP. One was, where something is being sought. So an RFP comes to you and you pitch for some work, for some specific questions. And the second part is, I think both firms and lawyers have become extremely agile, extremely proactive, given that the competition is on the rise. When competition rises, there is also competitiveness on cost factors. So I think the need to stay agile and stay ahead of the curve is extremely important. So, you're doing pitching on two fronts. One where someone has reached out to you, so you're being reactive, and one where you are being extremely proactive. You're sending pitches out even before you've been asked for it. So I think one massive change that we have probably experienced in the last 15 years is that, right? Like, it's not just reactive, it's also proactive. Second is, of course, like we said, competition and cost, they go hand in hand, right? So if you are with the rise in competition, with the number of firms that have, if we were to just look at India, 10, 15 years back, you knew the names of probably the 10, 12 firms that were in the Indian market. And today, it's very difficult to limit that number to even a 30 or a 40 firms, because you've gone beyond the tier 1 cities, and you go into the smaller cities. You look at the sectors that are evolving in India as well. It's a given that innovation on technology, cost, innovative pricing, and just staying ahead of your competition is something that comes naturally to the lawyers. So I think those have been the changes that we have clearly experienced. And also, especially on the seeking side. So when a corporate is seeking an RFP, what has clearly changed is that they're not doing it to put a tick on a box, right? They are actually wanting to read what your specific niche is as a firm or as a lawyer, to make sure that their query that comes to you is very niche and specific, like your practice. So I think that's been a massive change as well. So yeah, I think that would probably sum up.
Yeah. So I think it's a two-way process, like from the client and the law firm side, both competition has increased. So that will be why. I mean, why the change is there, because competition has increased. Pandemic is there. Digitally, things have changed. So legal teams are expanding. As you said in our first point of discussion, that it's not only the GCs who are reading the RFPs now. It's also the business people who are reading. It's only not only the business people, but GCs are also reading. So that difference, I think, what and why is covered there. Great, great. So now an important question here. Give us some good tips and tricks to make a great pitch, so that when a client looks at it, he's wowed with it. So in your experience, can you just give us, and how do we connect that beautiful looking pitch or a proposal in a rainmaking segment of a partner? For example, there is a salaried partner who's been a salaried partner for some time, and he wants to become an equity, or he wants to grow the business, or for a standalone law firm or a small law firm, a standalone advocate, if he wants to increase his clientele, what are the tips and tricks he should use in a RFP or a pitch proposal that you could suggest, and it will help us increase the revenue?
So I think like we covered a couple of them. I think one is the presentation. I think it's extremely important to stay crisp and to the point. Given that we are in a pandemic sort of situation for the last 1.5 years, it's extremely important for the firm and the lawyer to be able to showcase their digital avatar, as opposed to the heavily worded documents that they would carry. Absolutely. Or the multiple documents that you would send across to a client, where, I mean, you will agree, right? Like, we've basically seen how firms have completely disregarded our point of not sending a firm profile, a deal sheet, a CV, all of these things separately, right?
Absolutely.
So the digital avatar has, I think, become extremely important to stay crisp and to the point. It's very important to break the monotony of words using infographics, flowchart, whatever really sits well with you, right? And I think innovative fee structures. Don't just give out fee structures just at the beginning when you're sending the pitch. It's important that you communicate what you bring to the table and ask them what they need from you, as opposed to just completely loading them with all the information in one go. Right?
Absolutely.
And I think when we say that it is connected to rainmaking, I think it absolutely is. You cannot alienate the two. Like we said, with law firms becoming extremely conscious about having BD teams and marketing managers in place, it enables, it's an enabler for the lawyer or the partner in charge to be more agile and proactive. So use your ability to identify the area that you want to grow in, or the sector that you want to grow in, and then outsource or just rely on the good senses and creativity of your BD manager or your marketing manager to help you identify the people you want to pitch to, and also then have take their creativity on just how your document is looking. So absolutely. It's extremely important, and I think it cannot be alienated. While the lawyers have to focus on the legal lawyering skills at the end of the day, it only helps to have BD managers and marketing managers in place who can truly enable you to become a much more sort of valuable rainmaking partner, right? Because, I mean, Jay, you've seen how in the last 15 years, it's not about you spending time at a law firm for 15 years or 10 years or 12 years for you to get to partnership. You have to prove
Yeah.
You have to prove the value add you bring to the table, so that you are made partner or you are given equity for a reason. And that reason, more often than not, is one of the rainmaking skills. And let's accept rainmaking skills lie in very different buckets. It's not just about going, networking, getting a client, converting them, and you're sorted. It could be about so many different aspects of content marketing, networking, just writing, right? And just in terms of just being able to have thought leadership pieces
Yes.
in place.
Absolutely.
So many of those aspects. So I think, yes, cannot be alienated at all.
Yeah. So Neha, see, I feel the way you're talking right now. I feel it, and I've been in law firm for so long, and you've been in the industry for so long. It's so true that rainmaking is not only about going and networking and getting the client. It's also how you present, right? What you're pitching. If you're talking to a power sector client and you start talking about M&A, I mean, he will not be interested. He will be more interested in what the regulatory aspects of the power sector in the
Absolutely.
country, or some other country which is interested in investing, or some power companies investing in India. So I would say, and also I think their deadline is a very important thing for is the biggest
Very.
tip. I mean, if you meet the deadline, and it's so ironical that you said it's not that the time you spend in a law firm will make you a partner. That's not true. But when it comes to time on deadline, that's the most important thing. So there are two contradicting things. It's just
Absolutely.
how you use the time well to show the right pitch to the client. Thank you, Neha.
Absolutely.
These tips and tricks are really useful, and I hope our listener will be using it in future. And I hope that it really fructifies in what they want to do. The clientele increases.
Yeah.
That leads me to my next question. And this is one of a question that I wanted to ask you, because you have been a great friend. We've been friends for so long, but I've never got a chance to ask you officially. And on this platform, I'm going to ask you, Neha, from heading a BD team and a BD function at a top tier firm to curating the gray matter, and you are an entrepreneur today, and you are running it so well in the country. What is the personal difference you have found while making an RFP at AZB when you were there, and now the mother hen of the gray matter? I'm
I
very
think
excited to hear your answer.
so. I think both have massive pros and cons.
Yeah.
Um, I think being internal at a firm has a massive pro,
Hmm.
because in our experience, the insight you have as an internal person is
Hmm.
way higher, right?
Yeah.
Um, lawyers, your partners heavily rely on your expertise and your creativity.
And trust.
Um,
Trust.
Absolutely,
Hmm.
absolutely, and you have the undivided attention of your time to focus on that particular RFP, right? I think as a third party,
Hmm.
as an outsider, as an agency that's been, say, retained by a law firm, um, we are seldom privy to the entire RFP. So
Hmm.
there is very little context setting that's done for us as outside agency. I think this narrative is currently applicable only in India. I think
Hmm.
the narrative outside of India in the Southeast Asian market, US market, I think has completely undergone an overhaul.
Yeah.
Third party agencies completely take care of the RFPs. But I think in India we are yet to get to that
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
to get to that position. So I think we get to work on very limited questions. We are very briefly told about what industry we are referring to and what pointers they would like from us. So there is very little context setting, and there is very little sections of those
Yeah.
RFPs that we get to work on
Lucky,
as.
lucky. That I would say is lucky.
But I think the good part that we feel is that given that we work with a wide range of law firms, I think we get to see very different ways of marketing,
Hmm.
different
Hmm.
ways
Yeah.
we have to adapt ourselves to the different law firms or the different partners that we are working with. And I think that is a huge learning for us. So I
Yes.
think that's primarily the difference. But I think I will go ahead and take the liberty and say that it is you can't take away the importance of an internal BD person. It's
Absolutely.
extremely crucial. Um,
Absolutely.
and having said that, I will also go ahead and say that I am completely, we love what we do at the Grey Matter, what we're able to do. So I think I won't take away that. And I will also not forget how important our role was when, 3 out
Yeah.
of the 4 people
Yeah.
at Grey Matter were at the same firm. So I think, I think those are the sort of pros and cons.
You've spoken like a true lawyer, Neha. You've given us very good perspective. And then now something little bit off the topic but connected. Do you think law firms today in India, especially, you think are gender agnostic, especially when it comes to BD teams?
Absolutely. I think that's evolved as well.
Hmm.
It has massively evolved.
Hmm.
And I think firms have accepted and evolved from the fact that rainmaking as a skill is gender agnostic, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I think there are obviously more gender agnostic policies in place,
Mm-hmm.
and there is nothing holding us back. So that's a massive change, and it's a very positive change. I think we've always in India, we've always had lawyers like Zia Modi, Pallavi Shroff, Dina Vadia, who've proved time and again and for decades, right, that
Yeah.
that relationship building is
Yeah.
gender agnostic, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely.
and the next generation lawyers, if you look at them, you look at a Sonali Mahapatra, you look at a Pritha Jha, Nilofer Lam, Nisha Kaur Oberoi, and all of them have been leading by example, redefining the fact that it's completely gender agnostic if
Yeah.
you know that this is where your skill lies,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely.
You can be a great lawyer, and you can also be a great rainmaking lawyer. And I think these women have proved it to us all,
Yeah.
time and again. So I think
Absolutely.
absolutely the teams, the firms, the lawyers themselves, I think have completely opened up to the fact that gender has nothing to do with the rainmaking skills, and I think
Yeah.
that's a great change.
Yeah, and the Labor and Laws Act, I mean, the laws are changing. I mean, there is 6 months mandatory maternity leave. So the firms and the companies and the government is supportive of women rising. It's not only defined by how many children you have, but it's also defined by if you can manage both. And they are managing well. And I give so much credit to the firms as well to support the women
Absolutely.
today to go up the ladder. So that's great. Thank you, Neha, so much for your expert views on all the questions I've asked. Thanks so much. I think this discussion was very, very fruitful and for me as well. And thanks for all your advice. I now open the session for